Have you ever felt like you have just tried every single productivity system out there, and yet they all keep failing you? Every single time, every single one. What I want to suggest to you is that there's a very intuitive and important reason for why that is. But because of all the layers that you have put on yourself, and honestly, the guilt and the anxiety and the framing that you feel around your failure to be productive, you're missing it. You're missing the piece that could make it all go away, that could make it all better, and that could finally allow you to get more productive in your daily life and not have some of the stress associated with getting things done and being a productive member of society. So we're going to dive into that topic today. If you're new around here, my name is Steve, and I teach solopreneurs how to build intentional rhythms in their lives so they can get more done, be more productive than ever, but also be more fulfilled than ever. Because there's two sides to this coin, productivity and fulfillment. You need both. So my goal is to help you build daily rhythms in your life that will help you accomplish those things. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about why every productivity system that you've ever tried has failed. Here's the kicker that I feel like most people just don't understand. Every single one that has failed has been for the exact same reason. They fail for the exact same reason. And it all comes down to this one word. One word. If you can guess what it is, I want you to put that word down in the chat. Okay? Put that word down in the chat to see if you can guess what the one reason is that all your productivity systems have failed. Now, I'm guessing that a few of you are going to make some guesses that are wrong. And so let's go through a few of these that are probably not quite accurate, even though they might feel like they are. What about time? I feel like many of you probably think that time is your biggest issue, right? Well, I just don't have enough hours in the day. I can't get anything done because I'm looking at the workload that I have to do. I'm going to work. I'm getting interrupted. I get pings and emails and everything throughout the day. And, by the time I get my head above water and I look at the clock, it's like work day's over. I got to go home. So you're thinking that the time is the issue. A lack of time is not the issue itself, but it is a symptom. It is a symptom of the issue. What's another reason why maybe you feel like you don't get stuff done, right? You don't get stuff done. This one's related. They're all kind of related, I guess. Distractions. Well, my boss, my boss has too much work for me to do. My wife keeps calling me while I'm at work and wants to talk. Maybe you work from home, your kids are at home or whatever, and your kids come in, they distract you. So you think, well, that's the issue. It's the distractions, the things that are all around me that are causing problems. Here's another one you might mention. You might think about motivation, right? Like, I just can't get motivated to do the stuff that I know that I need to do. And so then what ends up happening is you go online and you search for ways to get motivated, right? So you look at, Tony Robbins or Brennan Burchard or all these folks who, I love their work. They have great work and there's a time and place for their work. But when you're head down, like actually trying to get real work done, a lot of times it's not the motivation that is the issue. Here's another one that we'll blame a lot. We'll blame procrastination. Procrastination, right? We'll blame that and we'll say, well, I just can't get with it today. I'll put it off to tomorrow. Why do today what can always be done tomorrow, right? Or I've got more pressing matters that have come up today, so I'll have to put off this important project tomorrow. What about just plain old your mood, right? Just like, you know what? I just don't feel like it. I just don't feel like it. And here's the truth of the matter. I think that your mood can actually be a signal. Okay. Your mood is not noise. Your mood is signal. How your energy is at different points throughout the day. That's telling you that something is either working or broken in your system. Okay, I'm currently building an app that specifically helps you track your circadian rhythm. And there's lots of these tools out there, but most of them are either way too complicated or way too simple and ugly. So I wanted to build one that was beautiful and 80/20, right? Like it gives you exactly what you need. So I'm working on that. One of the cool things about it is it can create correlations between your mood, how you're actually feeling, and different data points that you track. What meals you ate, the amount of sleep you got last night, whether or not you took a nap, how long the nap was, your sunlight exposure for the day. Did you exercise? And so learning more about you and how your body adapts is going to be key. But none of these 5 things, as much as I think they contribute to your procrastination issues, really none of these 5 things are the root cause of why every productivity system you've ever tried has failed for the same reason. Okay? Here's what I think it is. Now, maybe you tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong here. But I think it's this. I think it's guilt. I think guilt is the number one reason why every productivity system you've ever tried has failed. Why am I mentioning this? Well, guilt leads to sort of a doom loop, okay? And what happens here is that you get a number of feelings that come as a result of feeling guilty for not being able to get work done. The biggest one, and probably like the most obvious, is anxiety, right? You get anxiety. And you might have this kind of thing happen. You might have, well, I'm here, but I really should be there, right? Wherever here and there are for you, right? It's like if I'm working, I should be spending time with family. If I'm resting, I feel like I should be working. If I'm spending time with family, I feel like I should be working. Especially if you're the motivated entrepreneur type, it's very likely that you struggle with things like this. So it's like if you're here, you feel like you should be there. Then there's this thing of like done and not done. All right. So it's like I'm finally done with something. But what's next? But what's next? Now, is there anything inherently wrong with thinking, moving on to the next thing, having goals, like accomplishing a goal and then moving on to the next one? Of course, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. No. But it's the anxiety, right? It's the anxiety that creates, that sort of thinking creates. What's one more? Right here, there, done, next. What about reality? And let's just call it unreality. What do I mean by this? We lie to ourselves. Okay? We lie to ourselves. That's what happens. We look at the reality of a situation and we create in our minds an unreality that is not true, but because that's the lens through which we now interpret the situation and we assign a meaning to it, we end up again in this guilt thing. Okay. So what do I mean by this? Like, what's something practical here? Well, the reality might be that you finished a project on time. You finished it. You did a great job with it, but maybe the project went a little bit over budget. And so you assign this unreality to the situation that the project as a whole was a failure. What happens, that leads to anxiety, because I really think anxiety is like the biggest thing that gets us in this doom loop. That unreality that you create leads to anxiety. That anxiety leads to guilt, right? So this is what's happening, right? This is what's happening every single time, right? Every single time. These incorrect states of thinking, right? If I'm not here, I should be there. Anxiety, guilt, right? Okay, I'm done. What's next? Oh my gosh, I never have time to do anything. Anxiety, guilt. Oh my goodness. The reality is this, but I have assigned this unreality to it. Now I'm anxious. Now I'm feeling guilty again. So All roads lead back to guilt, which is why most of the productivity systems you've ever tried have failed. So let's go here and just give this an orange. Okay. Because this is the state. This is the state that we're in 99% of the time. And there's really only one thing you can do that will reinterpret this mindset and that will allow you to move beyond it and actually start being more productive. What is that? Well, it's not. Let me tell you what it's not. It's definitely not. It is not apps, hacks, and quacks. Okay. This is my favorite framing of the bad guy in productivity systems. Are apps useful? They can be. Are hacks to get more done useful? They can be. Are quacks useful? And honestly, not everyone's a quack. I just needed something that rhyme with apps and hacks. There are some useful people who teach productivity. The issue is that, again, they're always looking for shortcuts. And shortcuts are not a bad thing, but everything happens in the context of a frame, right? Some kind of framing that you're going to assign to your entire productivity system as a whole that will tell you whether or not it's going to fail. And these things are downstream from the source. You got to go back to the source. And so there's one word that's going to change everything about how you feel in your productivity. Grace. Grace. Grace, again, I hope I don't lose you here. This is not the normal productivity advice, okay? The whole thing needs to start with you giving yourself grace about your situation, about where you're at, about the realities of life. And if you can do that, then what happens is grace cancels out guilt. Grace cancels out guilt. It just does. I'm a Christian. I have a very philosophical, right, background and thinking for this. It's theological for me. But even if you're not of that particular persuasion, the reality is, no matter what, that grace cancels out guilt. This whole thing changes. This whole equation changes when grace enters the view. Everything else is gone. Nothing else matters. It all fades into blackness. Now, practically speaking, let's just for my own, sanity here, let's just come here and we'll make this black. Okay. It all fades into blackness. And what's amazing about this is that grace becomes the interpretive lens through which all of that other stuff that we've been talking about can go away. So let's kill our rectangle here for a little bit. Grace takes away the here, there thing. You know what? Right now I'm here and I'm going to give myself some grace to just be here. To say, I don't need to be there because I'll be there again tomorrow, right? Wherever that is, that's like the reinterpretation of it, right? It's okay. Tomorrow's coming, right? I'll be there tomorrow. Now, are we promised tomorrow? No, of course not. But if that's the case, then you have bigger problems anyway, okay? So, tomorrow. How about this? How about instead of just always thinking about what's next, how about we celebrate? How about instead of saying, oh, there always has to be a next, how about we just take the time to pause and celebrate instead? Grace allows you to do that. Grace says, you know what? I can slow down long enough. I can rest, right? I don't have to have this period of consecutive creation. I don't always have to be creating. God rested on the seventh day, right? You don't have to always be creating. You can take a moment to rest. Here, reality versus unreality. How might we reinterpret this in the lens of grace? In the lens of grace, what we can do is do this. We can slow down. And you know what? I'm even going to, while that's true, I'm going to look at it this way. I'm going to say that we can instead take time to view the big picture. Okay. When you're looking at the reality of a situation with grace, you can view the big picture rather than assigning this unreality to it that ends up happening in the normal guilt and anxiety cycle. Because whatever your situation is, if you look at the reality and you zoom out long enough to take the big picture view, it's probably going to work out. What's a really practical example of this? Can I just talk to you for a minute? Let me just talk to you for a minute. A few years ago, I went with my family and my and our best friends, who are basically family, on a camping trip, and it was a very stressful camping trip. There's 11 of us all told. We're very outnumbered by kids. It was super stressful. It rained one night. My iPad was in a puddle of water, dead for the next 6 months. It rained a lot on the trip, frankly. We got caught in a downpour on the boat in the middle of the lake. It wasn't fun. But in the middle of one chaotic moment, I remember my best friend, Jared. I remember him actually saying, the only thing you're ever going to remember about this trip is how fun it was. When you think about this trip, you're going to look on it with fun memories and think about going back. And he was right. I would love to go camping again. I would love to have another trip like that. I remember all of the fun parts, and I only remember like the most sucky of the worst parts. And that's only because I'm thinking about it now to even tell you the story. For the most part, it was an amazing, fun trip. And I would go back right now if they called and said, hey, yep, we got a camping spot. Let's go meet us this weekend. I would be in my car driving there this weekend to go do that again. See, what happens is that I looked at the big picture, right? I took the reality of the situation and I said, you know what the big picture is? This was a fun camping trip with family, memories that will literally last a lifetime. The unreality, let's go back. The unreality that I could have assigned to it in that moment was, this was the worst camping trip ever. We're never doing this again. It was awful. But that's unreality. The reality is, after I slowed down, is I took a look at the big picture and I said, this was a great time to make memories with my family. And it all happened because of the framing and the lens of grace. That was it. Grace was the answer to all of it. So it's not time, right? Time's not your problem. It's not distractions. It's not motivation. It's not procrastination. It's not mood. It's grace. When you can learn to give yourself grace, these are all small blips, little bends, if you will, in the river of life that cancel out this guilt. So next time that you are feeling guilt and anxiety, I would encourage you to just simply stamp over that with grace, okay? Stamp over that with grace. Let grace be the interpretive lens, the framework that allows you to finally move past all these little nagging issues and get real work done. I hope that you find this helpful, and in your own daily life, you start to give yourself the grace that you deserve so that you can be more fulfilled than ever before while you're being productive.